This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. We're in the final hours of the STS 29 launch countdown at this time, and everything is proceeding smoothly here in firing room 1 and at launch pad 39B. And here we have the flight crew at breakfast this morning. There's Mission Specialist Robert Springer. And Mission Specialist James Buckley making his third trip this morning, and Commander Michael Coates. This will be his second mission into space. His pilot, John Blaha, making his first trip, and James Bajan also making his first trip into space. They're all wearing space shuttle ties and suits this morning. Should be receiving video momentarily of the flight crew getting into their, here we are, we have the orange launch and entry suits. And his pilot, John Blaha, being assisted with his boots. This will be Blaha's first trip into space this morning. And Mission Specialist Robert Springer. And Commander Michael Coates, putting his helmet on right now. Across the room, we've got Mission Specialist James Buckley getting all of his gear together in the various compartments on the spacesuit there. And Mission Specialist James Bajan. ICE team is still at the launch pad now, making their final assessments. They'll be coming back to the Launch Control Center and reporting their the facts and observations to management here in the firing room. And we have the STS-29 flight crew now leaving the operations and checkout building. There's Commander Michael Coates and pilot John Blaha, Mission Specialist James Buckley and Robert Springer going down the elevator, followed by Don Putty, Rick Nygren, Dan Brandenstein, and they'll be making their way down to the first level and getting into the astronaut van. And here's the flight crew down at the first level, ground level. Commander Michael Coates, pilot John Blaha, followed by Mission Specialist Jim Buckley, James Bajan, and Robert Springer. Flight crew is being greeted, and I'm sure lots of well-wishers standing by watching them get into the astronaut van. Got an overhead shot now of the van leaving from the operations and checkout building. Everything is continuing smoothly. The ICE team is finishing up with their inspections at the pad, and the closeout crew is continuing to prepare the orbiter Discovery for the flight crew's entry. At T-minus 2 hours, 51 minutes, 44 seconds, and counting, this is shuttle launch control. Flight crew now on the 195-foot level at Pad B. We're looking at through a fixed camera mounted on the pad there at the 195-foot level. They're now walking across the orbiter access arm and now into the white room. Commander Coates now preparing to enter into the cockpit.
Okay, OTC, I'm ready for the reconfiguration of the drivers at this time.
Okay, panel 014 and CMQC, this is step 440. Okay, row F, RJD 1A, L2, R2 manifold driver to on, ON.
Okay, RJDA 1A on. And OTC, MS1 is ingressing at this time.
Copy that.
NTD MS1, Tom check on air to ground 1.
Yeah, MS1, this OTC, I read you 5 by Humvee.
Okay, I've got you the same OTC.
Okay, copy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, let me know when y'all are finished your strap-ins and you're ready for your after-com check.
Okay, yeah, they're ready for that at this time. They're all strapped in, and I'm just getting ready to pull the aft panel.
Okay, copy that. NPD launch director on air ground 1.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, for the benefit of the team and the crew, we're still waiting on the fog to burn off, and that is happening. Should take another 15 minutes to half an hour. We also are still waiting on the latest release and evaluation of the winds aloft data to run through the LFeed program, and that will take approximately a half hour. So just be advised, we'll still be in the hold here for another 30 minutes.
Okay, copy.
NTD Flight 212.
Go ahead, Flight.
This time we are go for launch, and as soon as we can, we ought to do that.
I understand, sir.
Standing by now momentarily to resume at T-minus 9 and counting.
1, mark.
T-minus 9 minutes and counting.
has been initiated.
Coming up on T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting.
Go for OAA retract.
And we have a go for orbiter access arm retract. Arm is being retracted back into the launch configuration. This arm can be extended in just a few seconds if necessary. T-minus 7 minutes and counting.
Okay, let's go for purge sequence 4.
And we have a go for purge sequence 4 on the main engines. The valves on the main engines are being opened to allow liquid hydrogen to circulate in the engine's nozzles and turbo pumps to condition the engines for starting. This conditioning takes approximately 3 minutes, and at the 1 minute point in the count, an engine ready indication will be given. T-minus 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and counting. We are now transferring to internal power and switching off the orbiter's ground support equipment power bus. At this point, Discovery is running off its onboard fuel cells.
TLP, clear caution and warning.
Pilot Blaha has been asked to clear the caution and warning memory, and the gaseous oxygen vent hood is now being lifted off the top of the tank and be retracted to the launch configuration. At T-minus 2 minutes, the flight crew will be instructed to close their visors.
Flight crew, this OTC, close and lock your visors, initiate your O2 flow, and have a good ride. Okay, let's go for pressurization.
T-minus 1 minute, 50 seconds and counting. We've had a go for liquid hydrogen pressurization on the external tank.
Minus 1 minute.
Just seconds away now from liftoff of Discovery. All systems are go. Coming up on T-minus 31 seconds. We have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's 4 redundant computers have primary control of critical vehicle functions for the remainder of the count. T-minus 20 seconds.
15 seconds.
T-minus 13, 12, 11, 10. We have a go for main engine start. 6, 5. We have main engine start. 3, 2, 1. SRB ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of STS 29 as Discovery clears the tower.
Roll program.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Mission Control, Houston. Good roll program confirmed. Three engines now at 65%. Standing by for the go at throttle up call.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
Mission Control, that call means all systems are performing well as the shuttle main engines have resumed their firing at 104% of rated thrust. Relative velocity now 2,400 feet per second. Climbing at a rate of 1,700 feet per second. Downrange distance 11 nautical miles. SRB separation, standing by for a performance call from Mission Control.
Discovery, performance, nominal. And Discovery, you now have a go to turn off the high loads, turn on the verniers, and then you'll have, assuming that's successful, you got to go for orbit ops.
Okay, high load is off, and we're turning the verniers on.
This is Mission Control. The crew has been given a go for deploy by Capcom Kathy Sullivan following poll of the flight control room by the flight director and the payloads community responding to the payloads officer. All parties were go, and we're about 13 and a half minutes away from deploy of the Tracking Data Relay Satellite D. This is Mission Control. This is Mission Control. The payloads officer has informed the flight director that they see the payloads deploy system enabled at this time, and we're 15 seconds away from deploy. This is Mission Control.
Okay, we have motion.
Copy motion. sugar and spice. So nice, I got you.
Discovery Houston, good morning.
Good morning, David. David, we're trying to figure out how you got James Brown out on parole to sing that to us.
Hey, that was just a special appearance.
Discovery Houston.
Go ahead.
Hey, Mike, just want to let you know we have TV through Mila for about a minute and a half.
Okay. We got John working on the IMAX, and Bob and Tim Bateson have been working on the filter cleaning, and Tim Buckley and I are trying to take some pictures of Yucatan right now.
Okay, great. We're looking at the flight deck right now.
Discovery Houston, good morning.
Number 5, Marines.
Roger that.
That's just great. We got 2 Marines up here standing at attention. What do we do now?
Well, we have one down here standing at attention too.
Jim and Bob brought their dress uniforms along. They really look good. Okay, you should be getting the downlink now, are you?
Yep, we got a good picture.
Okay, you can see Jim and I are down there on the mid-deck, right in front of the Chromex, trying to do the IFM. We'd already previously performed the checkout on the flight deck on the A11 panel using the multimeter and the test leads, and that went very well. Jim already gave the results for that, so that was a good exercise. We didn't get a chance to record that. The only other thing, as we're getting the temperatures, monitoring the temperatures, and then actually taking the door off, we did notice quite a bit of debris on the front of the door, and I think here later on in the scene, you may get a chance to see us vacuuming off the debris screens, something we hadn't noticed the other day. Okay, you can see John operating the camera. You can see how big the camera is. He's got it in the overhead window on the port side. This is a coordinated effort. Jim Buckley has to look out the side window. He's sort of the spotter to see when the target's coming up on the ground. Depending on which way the orbiter is pointing, he may have to look out the commander's window or the pilot's window. So he'll be looking out the window to see when the target's coming in view and tell us if we need to roll more or less, or in this case, pitch more or less, depending which way the orbiter was pointing. Okay, Houston, you ought to be seeing some lights flash now if you're getting the downlink.
Mike, yeah, we see a little bit. It's a pretty black picture right now, though.
Okay, we weren't sure how much that would show up on the VCR.
Yeah, we can see it now. We can see some, kind of in the bottom center of the monitor, some flashes.
Okay. There I was moving the camera around. We took this with the inside camera. We couldn't get the camera A to point where we wanted it to, so I grabbed the inside camera and taking it through the windows here.
Yeah, we wondered what happened there.
I didn't want you to think that was a wild roll or something.
Yeah, the GNC almost jumped out of his seat.
I bet he did. Prop 2. You can see there seem to be sympathetic flashes. One will go off and a couple next to it. We'll be looking for thunderstorms on these night passes. Every once in a while you'll have a long chain of thunderstorms, and you see a chain of lightning just set off like a string of firecrackers going right up the chain. This set of storms wasn't quite acting like that, but if we see that, we'll try to record it and show it to you.
Okay, great.
What you're seeing now is John and I changing out some film. John has just taken a magazine off the IMAX camera. He's doing a cleaning process. I'm against the far starboard bulkhead, downloading the magazine and then uploading another magazine of outdoor film. You can see that as long as everything is velcroed in place and you have foot loops to use, it works pretty well. You really do need a lot of stability to use that bag in order to change out the film.
Yeah, I remember that can get to be pretty ornery if you're not well stabilized.
It's worked out pretty well. Pretty steep learning curve from the first one you do until after you've done it 2 or 3 times. commentary of what we're doing. Here it's Mike and I this morning. And I guess you're getting us now, right, Pierre? You seeing our downlink now?
That's firm. We got it now.
Okay. This is when we're doing the medical DSO this morning. We do that in the aft mid-deck. And Mike and I were doing it at this point. Here you can see it's kind of a do-it-yourself proposition. Mike's getting his own blood pressure cuff out on. As Jim Buckley just pointed out, it's cheaper to do it that way. It might be a new trend in medicine in general. Anyway, the purpose of this DSO is the transcranial Doppler, which measures cerebral blood flow. What we're doing is we're measuring blood flow in the brain. One of the things they think might add to some of the problems that we see with space adaptation could be changes in blood flow due to fluid shifts that occur when one goes into a weightless environment. So what we do by this experiment is we have an ultrasound probe, which is a lot like a sonar piece of equipment, and it measures the velocity of the red blood cells in selected arteries in the brain. You have to point it in the direction you want it to go. So first we start out measuring Mike's blood pressure. You can see he's really thrilled. There's really a real interesting thing to be the subject for. And you notice here also we're supporting the NASA Little League here. Mike's baseball cap, he's a coach there. Anyway, we'll start to get our baseline data, and you'll see in a second here, we'll start up with the blood flow. One of the reasons we want to check this out, we haven't had the opportunity to do this in flight before. And if we can show there's some differences there that are correlated at all to any kinds of space adaptation syndrome, we might have better ways of preventing it or treating it if it does occur. So this is the first time something like this has been flown. You see I'm putting stereo headphones on, and though you might think I'm listening to tunes, it's not the case. I'm trying to listen to the blood flow in Mike's brain, and I can actually confirm there is blood flow there. And I said I'd furnish Mike with a notarized statement to that effect. I'll just show you a few more seconds of this. And later on I did it all myself. You have to put some gel on the probe so you get ultrasonic coupling. There it is, that black thing in my hand. I put up against Mike's temple. And it's at 2 megahertz, and the frequency is such that the bone is fairly transparent to it. It allows us to go in, echo off the red blood cells, come back, and by measuring the Doppler shift, get the velocity. And for that, we can infer some idea as to the flow. And there we are. We're getting the data right there. The white light just above my arm there, is the screen of the instrument back there. It's a little CRT. And that's how we're doing it. And it doesn't take very long. Altogether, it's probably 5-6 minutes. You can get the in-flight studies done that way.
Houston, is everybody awake down there? This is Captain James T. No, hold on. I'm going to do this properly. Stardate 1989. This is Captain James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise on temporary assignment to the Space Shuttle Discovery. Here in space, shall I call it the final frontier, the Discovery crew is alert and awaiting your morning orders for its 5-day mission to perform new experiments, to seek out new information, to boldly go where no astronauts have gone before. That's fine for them, but can somebody help me find my ship? It's lost, and I've got to beam out of here. Keep up the good work, Houston. Kirk out.
Enterprise, Houston. Tell Scotty to beam me up.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. That was real good.
Hey, you just never have a cabin TV running when you want it. The base is trying to figure what that last song is you played.
So are most people down here, actually. A whole bunch of people in Philadelphia were real happy to hear that, though.
All right. And what we're doing, of course, is a landmark track maneuver, tracking a point on the ground and pitching over it in order to put the overhead window right at it to film it with the IMAX. And we have to go vernier jets as we get close and start filming so we don't vibrate the camera too much. It's a real nice maneuver that the orbiter is able to do if you type it in correctly, but it sure uses a lot of prop. Okay. You can see it gets a little crowded up here with all five of us, but it's the best way to take pictures.
Looks real cozy.
Commander, how are you, sir? We just called up to congratulate you and your crew on the Space Shuttle Discovery. Sitting next to me is our Vice President, who's now head of the Space Council and who incidentally will be down in Houston in just about 2 weeks. But what I really wanted to do is congratulate you and then hear about how things are going. We're certainly proud of the mission.
On the ground have worked very hard to get this flight off, the first one of your presidency and the first one of very many to come.
Well, it's certainly wonderful. Looks to me like you made that crew clean up. I'm watching you. I can see you sitting here in the Oval Office. Amazing technology. And there are 5 of you sitting there and looking pretty clean and pretty fresh. How is everyone feeling on the flight?
Well, we're all feeling very well, Mr. President. It's been an exciting time. Of course, 3 of us on the flight are rookies in space, and I think the cleanliness and the smiles you see are just a reflection of the fun that goes along with the hard work. We're doing an awful lot of good things, but we're really enjoying what we're doing.
Congratulations to you and best wishes, and you've been an inspiration to all of us. So long, and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. President, and give our regards to Mrs. Bush. Tell her we're flying something for the new First Lady.
Oh, gosh, she'll be thrilled. Well, you better come up here and give it to her personally.
That would be nice, sir.
You're in. You're invited right as of now. So when you get back, why, head this way. Over and out.
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
Okay, first of all, let me introduce this experiment. A young man, John Bellinger, who's a senior at Purdue University, has been working on this for over 9 years. He's entered many student competitions, and through the system, he has finally won the right to fly this on board the space shuttle. So I congratulate John for his excellent experiment, and to let him know it's working really great, and I hope that when he gets this set of eggs back and compares it to the control group that he has on the ground, that he gets some very excellent experiment results. With that, I'll get started and show you basically what we're doing with the experiment. We want to make sure we can and the temperature in the eggs and the environment. So every 24 hours, we recharge the environment with 21% oxygen. So I take this little cap off here, and we then let the system clean itself out. We maintain the carbon dioxide level at the proper levels by doing this. While we're waiting here for a second, I'll pull a tray out, and you can see all the eggs in there. And if John's there in the control center, he can see the fan turning around. It looks real good. All his equipment is functioning very well.
Okay, well, we appreciate the pictures and the words.
And for the folks that might be watching, of course, we make water while we're up here. The fuel cells that produce our electricity also produce water, so we have to dump water a couple times a day. And this is what it looks like when we're dumping water. It goes out over the port wing and out into space. You can see it comes out under pretty good pressure. It's coming out at a pretty good rate. And then we moved the camera over a little bit later. The in-cabin camera moved it over to the window on my side, the W1 window, and showed you what it looks like coming out there.
And to help us establish communication, we have NBC News correspondent Dan Molina standing by. He's at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Bryant. Discovery, this is NBC in Houston. Do you read me all right?
Discovery, reach you loud and clear.
Well, good morning to all of you, gentlemen, and we thank you very much for agreeing to be with us this morning. First of all, Commander Coates, we all watched with some concern earlier this week as you powered down because of the hydrogen cryo problem. What did you have to do to conserve power during that period, and how did it affect your work?
Well, it really wasn't a great deal to us. We powered down a lot of our computer displays, cathode ray tube displays. We powered down our lighting as much as possible, which enabled us to see a lot better at night, as a matter of fact. And basically, we unpowered anything we weren't using at the time we were using it. So it was a little bit of an inconvenience, but not a real impact to our work.
If I may now, gentlemen, let me introduce Bryant Gumbel in New York. Bryant?
Good morning, gentlemen. Colonel Buckley.
Good morning.
If I might, Colonel Buckley, I know you have focused some of your attention on evidence of the Earth's pollution. I'm wondering what you can exactly see from above.
Well, obviously, from this perspective, the scale and scope of any type of airborne aerosols is much more dramatic. And what we're trying to do is gather some evidence and documentation to bring back and show people just how much we are dumping into the atmosphere and perhaps get a feel for how that might affect us in future generations. So you can see very, very well from here.
Yeah, Mike, just thought you might be interested to know what we're watching on TV in the control center right now. It's a color videotape taken by some guys that have an 850-inch tracking lens at KSC, and they caught you going overhead during your IMAX pitch pole maneuver in living color, so even Earthlings can see orbiters. We'll show you the tape when you get home.
Okay, we'd like to see that. Houston Discovery.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Captain, I hate to get too carried away with this crystal growth, I guess, because there's an awful lot of work. We're just the gardeners up here and just kind of tending the crops. But we've seen some of the crystals, particularly with the high magnifications, that are just fantastic. They're some of the best examples that we had seen some examples examples that the people from the University of Alabama, Birmingham had shown us, and these are just some of the duplicates of some of the finest crystals, and we've got multiple examples of it, so they really ought to be ecstatic about it. We are.
That's a great report, and I'm sure they'll be very happy about that. We'll pass it on to them.
Discovery Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Roger, your go for deorbit burn. Your signal is Charlie to Edwards 22. Right now, it looks like your touchdown at 185 knots will put you at 1990.
Roger, go for the orbit burn. Okay, 3-wire.
On NASA Select, we're now acquiring a view of Discovery via the long-range optics at Vandenberg. She's 269 nautical miles from the runway, altitude 151,000 feet, velocity Mach 7.7.
Discovery, take TACAN.
Roger, take TACAN.
Discovery passing through Mach 5, altitude 116,000 feet, descending 303 feet per second. Velocity 2,000 feet per second. Now inside Mach 2, altitude 74,000 feet, descending at a rate of 160 feet per second, about 45 nautical miles out.
Discovery, we see you on energy approaching the hack. You look fabulous.
Discovery, Roger.
Discovery, take your data to nav.
And the viewers at Edwards Air Force Base have just heard the double sonic booms as Discovery passes over, approaching the heading alignment circle.
Discovery, state vector transfer to the BFS.
Roger, state vector transfer to BFS.
Discovery rolling left as Commander Coates brings the vehicle.
Change to weather, light winds.
Commander Coates bringing the vehicle around the heading alignment circle. Range about 12 nautical miles, velocity 0.7 Mach, altitude 21,000 feet, descending rate of 230 feet per second. All data looks good in mission control, now about 10 nautical miles to the runway. Angle of attack 7.2 degrees. Flight Dynamics Officer reports looking good, rolling on to final. Now processing the microwave landing system data. Altitude 12,000 feet.
Discovery, on glide slope, on center line, surface wind 195 at 6.
Roger,
Altitude 8,900 feet. About 5.5 nautical miles to the runway. .1 minute to touchdown. Discovery should land about 2,800 feet past the runway threshold at a speed of 185 knots. Now at 4,300 feet. Velocity 0.5 Mach, now below 1,000 feet. 20 seconds to touchdown. Gear down and locked. Nose gear touchdown. Discovery now rolling out onto final.
Houston Discovery, we'll stop.
Well done, Discovery. That's one to be proud of. We felt like we rode through the whole mission with you.
Roger, Houston.
Great way to start the 89 schedule, Mike.
You bet. First of a lot, Frank.
It's Mission Control Houston. The crew of Discovery still safing the vehicle, all in very good shape aboard Discovery, very clean. Mission Control Houston, the crew of Discovery is now exiting the vehicle. Commander Mike Coates, pilot John Blaha, Mission Specialist James Bajan, Mission Specialist Bob Springer, Mission Specialist Jim Buckley.
Okay, it is at this time.
Being greeted on the tarmac by NASA Administrator James C. Fletcher, Astronaut Office Chief Dan Brandenstein, and Flight Crew Operations Director Donald Putty. Also part of the welcoming party, NASA Associate Administrator for Spaceflight, Admiral Richard Truly.